This podcast is brought to you by PLI, the Practising Law Institute, providing resources to legal professionals and the law librarian community. For more information, go to pli.edu/librarian.
Hi, I'm Karen Osterly. Thanks for listening. As a practicing law librarian myself, I've been working in the legal information profession for 36 years, currently with PLI's Library Relations team. Avery Lee has many responsibilities in her role as director of the Homer M. Stark Law Library in Gwinnett County, Georgia. Having worked as a law librarian at law schools, a law firm, and now a government law library, she brings a rare collection of experience to her post. Join us to learn about her creative Lawyer in the Library program, partnering with the Atlanta Legal Aid Society, and hear her thoughts on the different kinds of law library experiences available today. So Avery, it's lovely to see you on screen. Thank you for joining me today.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So where are you right now? Is this your work office?
This is my work office.
Okay.
I am at Gwinnett County Law Library, so this is it. You're seeing all of it.
Okay.
Or at least my office.
So I meant to look it up on the map and I ran out of time. Where is Lawrenceville in the state?
Sure. So Lawrenceville, we are a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh,
so
okay.
About 20 miles out of the middle of Atlanta. We're still considered Metro Atlanta. We just have our own county up north with about a population of 1 million people and growing. So
wow,
it's a pretty big county.
Okay.
But we're not right in downtown or midtown or anything like that.
So that actually sounds like the best of both worlds to me.
Yeah.
So you're close to Atlanta if you want to go in, but you're not driving downtown.
Exactly.
So are you in the library every day these days?
I work from home once a week.
We come in once a week and we work from home.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to trade. That sounds great.
So you're director of the law library, Homer M. Stark Law Library in Gwinnett County. And
correct.
When did you start there?
2021, March of 2021.
Oh, okay.
Going into my 5th year.
So a little over 4 years. And how did you get there and how did you decide to become a librarian and what did you study in school and all that stuff?
Oh gosh, that's going to take a while. No, I'll give you the shortened version or the fun version. So before I was a court librarian, I was at Baker Hostetler Law Firm in Midtown Atlanta. So I was a legal researcher at a firm. And then what brought me to Atlanta was a job at Emory University. So before that, I came to Atlanta to be the outreach librarian at Emory Law School. So I've done all three. I've got the trifecta. I've been an academic law librarian, I've been a law firm librarian, and now I'm a court librarian.
Wow. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been awesome. There's only a select few out there who've done all three, so I'm pretty proud of it. I think that gives me a wide knowledge of the workings of each of the sectors, so it's been pretty amazing.
Cool.
And how I got started in law librarianship, I think my story is similar to everybody else's. I went to law school. I had big high hopes of becoming a trademark lawyer. That was what I really wanted to do. Come around, second, third year, I felt like I wasn't really sure if the lawyer life was for me. At the time, I was working at University of Florida's law library as a student. So I was a circulation desk student while I was in law school. I graduated. My boss at the time was Ed Hart at University of Florida, and he kept walking around being like, I thought you graduated. Why are you still here at the library? And I just told him I wasn't sure what was next for my future. And he said, hey, did you know that all the law librarians here have law degrees as well? And that's an alternative career if you're looking into it or if you're interested. And I said, well, I got all summer. I got nothing else going on. So tell me more about it. Yeah. So he said, if you're really sure. So he told me about the Masters of Library Science program. I ended up applying to the one at Florida State University. And I, at the time, graduated from student worker to a full-time job at the University of Florida Law Library. I was a tech services person at one point. So that was my first inner workings of the tech service world. But it was a full-time position while I was in school trying to get my master's degree. And then I got a promotion to become digital assistant, which meant that I ran and operated the digital repository that we were creating. So that was pretty cool.
That is.
And in the meantime, Ed, my boss, let me do my studies in between so that I could finish my classes for my master's program. I was trying to study for the bar at the same time.
Oh my God.
So I had a lot going on, but they were very gracious to let me kind of juggle all three things at once.
Wow.
So that's how I got started. And that was maybe, I want to say 2011, 2010. So it's been a while, 15 years almost that I've been in the law librarianship world.
Okay.
It's been great.
But you practiced for a little while.
I actually did not practice. I went straight into law librarianship. I studied for the bar. Funny story, I took it twice in Florida, did not pass, so I decided, you know what, I don't really need it, so I'm going to let it go. Flash forward to 2022, I decided I was going to try again for a third and fourth time in Georgia. So I finally passed the bar in Georgia. So I am barred now and licensed to practice. But yeah, it's been a journey to get there. And the bar exam was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I didn't need it for this job, but I felt like it was a rite of passage having gone to law school. And it was something I needed to do for myself. So
And you've spent all that time, those 3 years. You might as well,
I spent all that time. I spent all that money.
Yeah.
You might as well. But yeah, it felt really good after 4 times of trying to finally get that bar license. But yeah, I still enjoy law librarianship, so I have no plans of, taking off and practicing law unless it's on the side or something,
Okay.
But my heart is in librarianship, so
excellent.
Glad to stay.
Excellent. Well, I have an MBA from my younger days, and it's the same thing. I don't need it for law librarianship, but I don't mind having it. I'm happy that I got it.
Absolutely.
Sort of
MBA is an amazing thing to have. So congratulations.
Sort of that base of knowledge, and so you've got the same thing from law school. You've got an in-depth understanding of everything that's involved. So that's
exactly
cool.
Right. Yep.
So you guys, you serve the public. Do you also serve the bench and the bar?
Yeah, absolutely. So you hit it. Those are the 3 areas that we serve. Obviously, probably 90% public. There are attorneys that come in and use our library and resources. I would say that's another 5%. And then, of course, anything that judges need, we'll take their research questions. And in the courthouse, obviously, we have staff attorneys and law clerks as well. And then we have the district attorney's office. They have some attorneys. We have the solicitor general's office. They have some attorneys. So, we'll assist any of the departments that are in the courthouse.
Okay. So everybody that works for the county can come to you.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you do the research, or your staff does the research, or they've got clerks that come over and do it?
Yeah, it's just myself. I have one librarian. Her name is Gail Matapo. She is my assistant law librarian. And then I have a circulation / front desk person. His name is Chase. And then the 4th person I have at the library is Tyler, who's our IT person / reference. So everybody does a little bit of reference.
Right.
Everybody does a little bit of research, but it's mostly Gail and I with the heavy lifting on the research end. But yeah, we all work around the clock for whatever needs to be done. So
yeah, exactly. And are you guys, you say round the clock? I mean, you're open past 5. You're open till like 8 or 9 or something?
We're 8 to 5 in person. Obviously, we don't really, if a judge emails me for something after hours, I'll answer it.
You're going to provide it.
We're not required to, but we do. So if a judge calls, I'll obviously answer.
Okay.
But it's not as heavy on the research end as it was when I was back at the law firm, where when an attorney calls you after hours, it's more than just one. And
Right.
when you ask them, when do you need it by, it's always,
Yep.
yesterday.
Yeah, very deadline driven.
Yeah.
No, when I
Absolutely.
was at Niley, we had 6 people, 7 people, and it was the same thing. I mean, if somebody emailed on a weekend, I got the emails, and I'm happy to pull a case or, send pages or whatever. If they needed something scanned that was in the library, then we couldn't do that till
Yeah.
Monday
I mean,
morning.
our judges are pretty laid back and pretty understanding. I think I answered one of the judges' research questions on a Sunday afternoon once, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to like make you work on the weekends. That was not, he was like, I was just shooting off emails so I wouldn't forget." So he was very, very
Right.
appreciative of me doing it, but they certainly don't expect it.
Nice.
For sure.
Nice. So he was pleasantly surprised to get the answer.
Yeah,
on a
absolutely.
Sunday. No, but I've done that too. Just send it off, just so it's off my desk, So what was I going to ask you? So while you've been there, because you're at 4 years and plus 4 years and a little bit more, are there big changes that you made? Are there specific library tools that you've created for your patrons?
I don't know. We've made any tools. We are, a county court library. So, like I said, most of the time we're getting folks that are self-represented litigants that are coming in without an attorney, asking, how do I get a divorce? How do I get a name change? It's a lot of family law-based stuff primarily. We've made a lot of brochures. So we'll use Canva and all those other tools out there to make the brochures and get the information to them. We obviously can't give legal advice.
Right.
And so that makes us limited in what we can tell them. And what we've created is something called a Lawyer in the Library program.
Oh.
What that is I have used our library funding to partner up with the Atlanta Legal Aid Society, and I've asked them to specifically hire an attorney to work in the library for us and be on the grounds 3 days a week. So it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to 5, answering the questions of when the patron comes in and they're like, is there a lawyer here that I can talk to? What it is her name is Megan McClinton. So we did end up hiring somebody, and what she does is she gives brief 45-minute consultations to the public about just very general advice. She cannot represent them in any way. She works under the legal aid umbrella, so she is a legal aid attorney, so they can't do criminal law.
Right.
So she has some restrictions, but for the most part, it's been very helpful and very busy all at the same time because, word gets out that you can come to the Gwinnett County Law Library and talk to an attorney. So we've had people from other counties come over and, try to get advice as well. But, there's been some trial and error, but for the most part, we're very, very proud to have put that program together and have her here 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And the other 2 days that she's not here, she's working on the Legal Aid Society makes all the packets that the self-represented litigants need, for instance, for the name changes and custody and all of that. So she's using, whatever apps that she can to update all of that. And then we get it onto not only the legal aid website, but also our own library website. So they've asked us to basically host all of the materials as well, because eventually I think they want to get it off the legal aid website and just have a main server where it can be easily accessible to everyone. So we did end up, revamping our library website when I first got there. So I did a lot of the web design work, the back end of it. And now we have, all the materials that people would need for doing things themselves without an attorney. So we're pretty proud of that.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
No, that is really excellent. I have not heard that from anybody else where they've partnered with the Legal Aid Society and had somebody come in 3 days a week. That's amazing. So.
Yeah. So we heard about, other libraries having a legal aid attorney come in, but, they only did it for a few hours or like 2 days a month. We used to have a program before I was the director where the previous director had the legal aid clinic come in for maybe 2 days a month. But I just thought that just wasn't enough.
No.
And, people always want immediacy. They're like, I have a case tomorrow. I
Yep.
can't come back in 2 weeks. So it's really nice to have that weekly face-to-face time. Of course, Megan still can only take 45 minutes, that she can only take 10 people a day.
Right.
But it's a lot better than what we used to have.
Exactly.
And it's been a great help to have her around and to have her field those questions, because obviously librarians can't give you the legal advice, but
Right.
because she's an attorney, she can, take that extra step and push them in the right direction. So I think
Exactly.
that's awesome to have
And you
an
have to
alternative voice there.
And you have to be especially careful because you are a licensed attorney in the state.
Correct. So, I have to play my role as a librarian and not
Yep.
as a licensed attorney. And that definitely poses a dual role thing that could be a slippery slope. So we don't want to go there.
Right. Exactly. Now, how is your library using AI? How are you guys using that in the research that you do?
I don't know that we have specifically, but when ChatGPT first came out, we had a lot of stories from our judges that are saying, they were getting motions and briefs that were a little suspect, because they would look into the case citations and it turned out the case didn't exist at all.
Right.
And so I got a couple of emails from some judges that are like, can you look into this? Can you please remind the attorneys? Because I was teaching a CLE at the time. They were like, can you please remind the attorneys not to use ChatGPT for those purposes, or at least use it as a draft? This was in the early stages. So I did do a CLE on ChatGPT specifically and other similar AI apps. And that's why that conversation started. The judges were like, yeah, we're getting like very odd materials being turned in, and they weren't sure where it was coming from, but eventually they would get the attorney to confess that it came from some AI product or some ChatGPT product.
Right.
And I believe, the attorney started calling the ethics hotlines for our bar association, asking, did they do something wrong, or, is it totally okay to use some of the AI-based apps or not?
Right.
So maybe that was in the early stages. So I want to say that was a couple of years ago. Now, all of that has been refined. And I think, those AI generators are getting smarter and smarter by the minute. So I know that there's been some CLEs that have updated with that material and said, yeah, you definitely can use it, because it kind of is like what Westlaw and Lexis kind of have always done.
Right.
Is, they can guide you into the right space, but you have to be careful and you have to check your work and you have to make sure, it can save you a lot of time. I think that's the best perk of any AI kind of tools, is it saves you a lot of time. You can have them pre-do everything for you, but you definitely have to go back in and double check their work. Now, what I would really love from AI from the public side is, I've always dreamed of having a kiosk where an AI robot can just ask the self-represented litigant, what are you here for? Right. And just ask them the questions and be able to fill in all those blanks for them. Because even with our forms and our packets, there's a lot of people that they see a 30-page packet, right, and they freak out a little bit. They're like, I'm not even sure if I'm doing it correctly. Right. There's a lot of language barriers where we are. I'm in Gwinnett County. Like I said, it's 1+ million people. Yep. There's about 30% that are Asian. There's another probably 30% that are Hispanic. So lots of language barriers where all the packets are in English. So if there was an AI generator that could speak multiple languages and be able to help them fill out the forms and just print it out, I think that would be amazing. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is that kind of help, for sure.
That would be good. That would be good. Until that's ready, until that comes on the market, do you and your staff use AI in other ways, not research, but like in document review or drafting or anything like that? Do you guys do that?
We've tinkered with it a little bit on, obviously, the legal databases that we have that offer those types of features. But because we don't do a lot of, like, the attorneys have their accounts to all the databases, and they kind of work on their own. So we haven't really had to walk them through any of that. We don't prepare any documents for the judges. We're not clerks by any means. So we haven't really toyed with it as much as we could. I'm obviously interested to see, if there's any other spaces we can use it in.
And what do you see as the future? I mean, until that perfect software, until that perfect AI assistant is ready, the one that translates and fills in forms and does a Q&A with the pro se customer, what do you see the future in county law libraries, or your county law library in particular, for AI?
That's a good question. I think maybe not even county law libraries, but I think I went over to one of the neighboring law firms today, and we had a talk about how, they no longer have a front desk person answering the phones because they have like a virtual assistant system that just answers it and pretty much redirects the call to whichever attorney's actual assistant there are. And I was like, see, it's already starting. Like, we really don't maybe maybe we don't need paralegals in the future. I'm not sure, because, it's been hard just finding someone and retaining them. And so I think that would help in those little areas where, maybe phone service, right? Like, I hate picking up the phone, and we have 90% public patrons. Like, when I'm in the zone, when I say hate picking up the phone, I'm in the middle of something. I'm in the middle of helping someone. We only have a staff of 4. So, if we're all busy, it's hard to run to the phone and tell a phone person to wait and be putting on hold. They don't like being put on hold.
Right.
So yeah, just little daily tasks. I think that would be those arenas that AI would really, really help in, just being able to answer the phones, let them know, what we can and can't do, what services we offer. And then also we sign people up for the legal aid in the library program. So there's a lot of, here, you have to fill out this form. And my staff, the legal aid, also has a receptionist that comes to help with that. But that would cut out a lot of time and save a lot of time if we had some kind of AI program that says, hey, why don't you pre-fill all this stuff out? Obviously, we can put that online, but, there's just instances where we have to explain certain things. So I would love it if there was an AI program that could explain all of that, get them registered, and then all I have to do is walk in and have their appointment. So let's start with the basics right there.
That would be really nice. Now, it's been a little while since you worked in law schools, but I'm wondering what you think the future of AI is in law schools.
I think law school has probably a wider space for that. I think, with all the classes that the librarians have to teach, I think even having AI create, I remember spending a lot of time creating homework assignments and exercises and coming up with new hypotheticals. I think AI would be really helpful for that. We wouldn't have to spend our time spinning our wheels trying to come up with new creative ideas. They could just, the AI products could probably just pull from new similar cases and create a brand new hypo for us. And then we wouldn't have to worry about, whether or not it was accurate, on par. Hopefully, it would be to that point where it would be pretty accurate, 99%. Obviously, you always got to check your work. But I think in law schools, that aspect with the teaching would be great. Even showing the students how to use some of the secondary sources, things like that. We tend to be repetitive when we have to teach them, this is how, you look up session laws. This is how you look up a treatise. I think those are things that, we could probably find AI uses for. And then just give them like an introductory part to legal research. And then we come in and do like the more intricate, the more complex stuff.
Yeah, the in-depth.
I think that'd be awesome. So I think law schools are already doing it. I know Georgia State here is local, and they already have, a robust technology and practice teaching program that they've started. So I know they're teaching a lot of things that are AI related. right now. So yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah, it is. And it makes a lot of sense, because they're going to check everything. But the hypotheticals, I've heard that from several people, that's just a godsend, to sort of
Yeah,
begin
and
to
I think that'll be great to prepare the students, because obviously the students are going to go work in the law firms and in the courthouses, right? Those are the two main places that they'll probably end up. So then we'll get more attorneys that are better prepared in our space for the librarians who do have to deal with questions that are coming from court attorneys and law firm attorneys. Because if
Right.
we prepare them in the law schools, hopefully they'll
Right.
come in with a running start.
Right. More knowledgeable and ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be great.
And I think you said it was earlier today or maybe earlier this week where you were at a law firm and you guys were talking about these kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. So, we have partnerships with law firms around here. Our treasurer is actually one of the law firms close by, so that's why I was over there.
Okay.
We do business over there, as they keep track of all our budget and our funding and things like that. So,
Great.
yeah, so we're
Great.
always talking to lawyers.
Well, I'm always intrigued. I mean, I've asked everybody, how did they get to be a law librarian? And lots of people came into it sort of sideways, like you did. And in your case, it was, I think you said the director, the chief law librarian said, hey, you should, what are you doing still here? You have your JD. And because you were still working in the library, and then suggested that you get a library degree too. Did you ever picture yourself doing that? You were going to be a trademark attorney.
Yeah, I mean, no, never. I think that's where, our law librarianship field can excel a little bit in just introducing that as an alternative career. I wish I had known about it earlier. I know there are a lot of dual programs out there where you can get your master's and your law degree at the same time if you already know you want to be a law librarian.
Right.
And you can finish it in 3 years. I wish I had known that. I could have saved a couple of years time and tuition if I had looked for those dual degree programs. I know there are programs that specialize in law librarianship that are out there. I certainly did not think to look into it before I was going to law school.
Right.
So yeah, I never imagined it for myself. It wasn't on the radar, but I'm very thankful that it happened. And I am all about getting the word out to everybody out there. I know we do it a lot with our former students who have kind of traveled the same paths, practiced for a couple of years, got burnt out. And, I've had some students, one of them is also named Avery, who now is a librarian. So she started off, as a attorney, and then she came back and asked me, Professor Lay, how did you become a law librarian? What do I do? And now she's very active in AA, So
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we should get the word out more for sure.
Absolutely. Well, you've got this interesting background because you worked in a law firm and you worked in schools, in law schools, and you're, of course, with the county now. What do you think every law librarian needs to know? Like, what advice would you give somebody like this person who came? She had a JD, she was practicing for a couple of years, came to you and said, Professor Lee, this looks good. How do I become a law librarian? What do you tell people? What do you think it's important for people to know as they start out being a law librarian?
I think going back to what we said is, I've hit all three sectors. I wish that when I was starting my law librarianship career, I knew a little bit more about what each type of law librarian does. Like, I really did not know what law firm librarians do. I heard they existed, but I wasn't really sure what goes on in that kind of environment. I knew what court librarians kind of did, but again, I did not know what a day-to-day routine would be like.
Right.
I wish that, I guess my advice would be to explore all your options. I think a lot of us go into academics and we kind of stay there because that's all we know. We know it from being in law school.
Right.
And then we transition from law school to teaching in the law school and staying there and helping the students because we're very comfortable in that environment. And there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's great if that's the right fit for you.
Right.
But I know there's lots of people who also want to go into public services or dreamt of being, an attorney that was more a legal aid type attorney. They wanted to serve the public. So if they were more in tune with that, they might want to be at a court library. I know I've learned the most being at a court library because like I said, I never practiced. So I wasn't even sure the practicality of, what you do when you're in front of a judge and all of that. And I learned so much about it now that I'm here at a court. I rarely ever was in a courtroom since I didn't practice.
Right.
And now I can go in and watch all the cases and see how it works. And I can go back and tell any law students, hey, this is what you should prepare for. And then in the law firm atmosphere, that's more of a corporate atmosphere if you're in one of the Am Law 100. Obviously, there's more smaller boutique law firms that you can be librarians at as well. But, I remember knowing that they existed, but no one really clarified what kind of research goes on in a law firm. So my advice is to just go out and seek a lot of mentors in many different sectors and ask all those questions so that you can kind of know, maybe kind of dip your toe in a little bit of each and then see what the right fit for you is. Because I did not know. I spent most of my years at university. Well, I take that back. My first law librarian career was at Nova Southeastern. So that was my very first job. Mm-hmm. And then I transitioned back to University of Florida. And then I did a stint at Emory. So I'd had about 7 or 8 years worth of academic law librarianship before I even thought about branching out to the other two sectors. Not that there was anything wrong with that, but yeah. My advice is to start early once you finish your library degree, to just go out and find the right people to talk to see what is expected in each of the fields and see which one works for you.
Right. But sure, it's rare that somebody has experience in all three. So
yeah,
so
it's a very weird compilation for sure.
But I was asking, and you're saying, be open to things, check out the different choices, and see what.
For networking, my network is huge. I've been very lucky to know so many academic law librarians, but now I also know a good number of law firm librarians from my 2 years at Baker Hostetler. I'm working with them on programming and, sessions for all the organizations. And then now I have the court library area to round it out. So I think it's great for networking. I think it's great to just get out there and get to know as many people as possible, because we also know, even if you don't want to be a law librarian specifically in that role, there's so many different other jobs in each of those sectors that require kind of the same skill sets that we never would have known about.
Right.
Yeah.
And our skills transfer.
And that's incredible. And especially in this economy,
Right. That is true.
You're looking for a job, that's always good to know that there's options out there that you might never have thought of.
Right. Well, thinking about that, what do you see as the future of law librarianship? I
think, we're always worried that maybe AI or something would take over. We're worried that people would need less libraries, librarians and libraries specifically. But I think, we're going to be fine because they're always going to need research navigators. Yep. So no matter what happens, I know, at least from being here, you're thinking about things like, oh, it's so easy to look up a statute, because we have the training to do that. Most people don't know what that means. So even if there's AI out there, even using words like that, the terminology, they're going to need someone to kind of guide them through it. And so I think our future is just fine. Our future is probably going to be even better with all the new technology coming out there, that there's always going to be a need for navigators and some guidance about how to use all of those tools. So many tools are out there right now. It's a little bit of an overload that we're going to be teachers and educators on the front lines of it.
And I'm guessing that you're including AI tools because there's so many different ones now in that. I'm sort of asking how law librarianship is changing with AI, but I think what you're saying is they're still going to need a research navigator. They're still going to need an expert to say, okay, this one does this, and I recommend this for this task. And
Absolutely.
This one.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. So this isn't anything new. Even before AI started, we had new computer tools that we weren't sure how to apply, correct? And then that's where the education comes in. So I think that's a good use. I mean, I think just thinking about, let's say I'm in a courthouse, just thinking about the number of judges and attorneys here that are not used to any of the databases. They're going to need someone to show them what each of the features does. So it's easier to open up an application or a tool, but you're going to need someone to let you know how the tool is going to help their everyday lives or help them be more productive. And I think that's where librarians come in. So I think we'll be all right because we've transformed and we've morphed throughout the decades, and we're going to continue to do that. And hopefully, that proves our value in society as a whole, and that more people will be recruited to join us.
Yep.
For sure.
Thank you. You had mentioned earlier that you do CLEs. You said that you did one on AI, and you do a number of those, I guess.
I did one a couple of years ago. I was supposed to do a part 2 once AI transformed out, but I got my scheduling mixed up, so I ended up having to cancel that session. But I'm always interested in teaching that kind of stuff, and I'm very blessed to have a good network that invites me to do those types of classes. So I think it'll be good. We need probably another one. I mean, AI is probably the hot topic.
It is. It's a very hot topic. We do, PLI does a lot of programs and courses and articles on AI. And so it's definitely important.
Yeah, and it's moving so fast because when I first did that CLE, the first thing I said in that session was, I was like, show of hands, does anyone know what ChatGPT is? And there were like 2 people out of 50 that even had heard of that word, much less any use for it. And now, there's way more than just that. There's so many. So yeah, we've moved so fast in that atmosphere that I don't even know what's coming next.
Yep. So what other advice? You've given some good advice, some excellent advice already for new librarians, and that is to look at different types of libraries and pay attention to what works for you and what maybe not be a fit or might be a good fit. What other advice would you give a new librarian?
I think just like we're doing right here right now, make friends with your vendors, have good relationships with them, I think, and friendships. I think that goes a long way for sure. I'm always excited to see you at AAOL. I think the exhibition halls are a great place to learn, what else is out there. So that would be my advice, is when you can go to a conference and you can hit up, those exhibition halls, even as a student. Because my first AAOL, I was only a library student. So I was working at University of Florida, as I told you, but I have won, a scholarship to go to the Seattle one.
Oh,
so that's
excellent.
Where I first got started. So even if you're still a student, you have those opportunities to explore, definitely do it, and, make those relationships with vendors, with mentors, as many people as possible, because that's where you're going to learn, what new products are out there and what can be beneficial to building your collection when you are in a position like myself to be able to purchase things and go research, what is best for the shelves or, for the database collections.
Well, it's key to educate yourself at these conferences. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity to find out about so many different supplies, different resources, and the companies that supply them. So you definitely, sounds like you take advantage of that. Anything else about being a law librarian that I have forgotten to ask that you would want to share?
Oh my gosh, Karen, I think you nailed most of everything that I can think of. Yeah, just also remember to have fun and, not take it too seriously, because burnout is a real thing.
Right.
So, I like to say work hard, play harder, and, just stay grounded and balanced and, never second guess yourself. I think we always talk about imposter syndrome and am I good enough for this position? Am I good enough to do this and that. I think just always being confident in yourself, no matter what profession you're in, would be my advice.
That's great. Great
and
advice.
Just keep going. Yeah.
Do you want to share what you're reading? What's on your reading table, either work or pleasure?
Yeah, this is really weird, but kind of not weird. So we have an opportunity to do tuition reimbursement here. And instead of, I could have gotten an MBA like you, Karen, but I ended up wanting to learn Spanish instead.
Oh, good for you.
So, my employer has been kind enough to support that. So I'm going for a Spanish for Professional certificate. So most of the books I'm reading are actually in Spanish.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite books is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And when I was in high school, I read the translated version in English, but right now I'm trying to go through the original version, which was written in Spanish by Paulo Coelho.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think sometimes I should have gone to law school when I was single and, had no mortgage.
It's never too late.
Exactly.
Karen.
Exactly. It's never too late. Never too late.
Never too late. And now they have the online programs. You don't even have to go onto campus.
Right.
So, I don't know why you would want the pain and suffering, but, if that is a passion of yours, I say it's never too late.
Maybe not the whole thing, maybe just some courses. So I have my MBA in person. I mean, this was the mid 80s, but then when I got my library degree, it was online because I was working full time for Lexis in New York, and they had tuition reimbursement. They were very generous. And
excellent.
So they really helped with that. But I would work all day and put my son to bed and then go downstairs in the basement and do a couple hours of homework. I only went to campus once for graduation.
Oh, yeah.
So it was all
that too. Yeah.
It was truly remote.
I had a similar experience with my Master's of Library Science. Actually, I've known some people who are interested in the legal field, but not necessarily wanting to be a lawyer. And I know there's some masters, like Masters of Legal Education. Mm-hmm. There's been a couple of other master's programs that are legal based, but not quite the JD that I've seen some of my friends end up taking, because they're like, well, we don't want to do the full thing.
Right.
And we don't want to pay the law school prices, but we're still very interested in learning the materials and the back end, history of how the legal field came to be and just getting like the basic introductory stuff. So they'll get a master's in legal education. So, maybe something like that. 1 or 2 classes here and there.
Yep. I will take a look at those. Those are kind of interesting. Somebody, I'm trying to remember who it was. Somebody was talking to me about a different kind of master's. It was like, it wasn't an MLS, but it was master's. It was master's in something legal. So I will find my notes on that conversation. But thank you.
I think my friend has taken a master's in, I think it's speech pathology, because that's what she's doing. But she just texted me and told me she's taking a special education in law class. So, every now and then there's some classes that maybe you can audit or just take one course or 2, even if you don't get the full JD.
Exactly. Yeah, I probably will not start at this point, the whole law school thing, but a couple of courses would be really cool.
You go for it, Karen. I support this.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful for this time together, and so thankful that you scheduled us and fit us into your day, and it's been really lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, and please do send me those PLI titles. I really am serious about being interested in seeing what else we can add, once we get a little bit of cushion in our funding.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. We'll see what we can do. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Karen.
It's been great.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Hey, you take care. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Practising Law Librarian. Be sure to subscribe and listen to our latest episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. And to learn more about the Practising Law Institute, please visit pli.edu. To learn more about PLI PLUS, which provides electronic access to the full collection of PLI Press publications, and schedule a demo with a member of our team, please visit pli.edu/plus. Please note that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast represent those of the individuals being interviewed and not necessarily those of PLI.